The Galactic Concordat welcomed Earth with all the warmth of a tax auditor. "Congratulations," said Ambassador Vril, his gelatinous form rippling with what Commander Jack Donovan assumed was the Missouri equivalent of boredom. "Your species has achieved the minimum requirements for membership. Please sign here." Jack stared at the holographic document floating between them. 27 years of desperate technological advancement after first contact, and this was humanity's grand welcome. A bureaucratic rubber stamp and what amounted to the galactic version of a participation trophy. "That's it?" Jack asked, his pen hovering over the signature line. "No ceremony?" "No. I don't know. Ambassador Vrilil's translation device emitted a soft chirp. "Would pointless ritual make the legal binding more appealing to you? We can arrange some if you insist." Jack sighed. "Never mind." He signed. Just like that, humanity joined the ranks of the 342 sentient species that comprised the Galactic Concordat. Not with a bang, but with a digital signature and the soft beep of bureaucratic confirmation. 2 standard months later, Jack still couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had simply been accommodated. Like an annoying relative you're obligated to invite to dinner, but secretly hope doesn't show up. "They don't respect us," he muttered, staring out the viewport of Earth's first embassy station orbiting Missouri Prime. Below, the swirling gas giant's 63 moons glittered like jewels scattered across black velvet. Dr. Sarah Walker looked up from her datapad. "They don't have to respect us, Jack. They just have to trade with us." Her dark eyes sparkled with the same enthusiasm that had made her Earth's foremost xenobiologist. "Do you have any idea how many medical advances we've already gleaned from Concordat databases? Cancer's already a thing of the past. Alzheimer's will be gone within a year." "That's not the point," Jack said. "Did you see the defensive capabilities on that Thraxian cruiser that docked yesterday? Their point defense systems make our best tech look like slingshots and bottle rockets." Sarah rolled her eyes. "We are new. We'll catch up." "In 1,000 years, maybe," Jack muttered. "Meanwhile, they treat us like we're made of glass. Did you know Ambassador Vril ordered the gravity in the common areas reduced to 0.8 G because he was concerned for our fragile bone structure? Considerate of him? Condescending is what it is. The whole Concordat thinks we're weak." A sharp alarm cut through their conversation. Red emergency lights began pulsing throughout the embassy. "What the hell?" Jack reached for his comm unit. "Donovan to command? What's going on?" The voice that came back was tight with panic. "Sir, you need to get to the command center immediately. It's Outpost Sigma. It's gone." The command center was chaos. Officers rushed between stations shouting reports and coordinates. On the main view screen, a live feed showed nothing but debris where Outpost Sigma, humanity's scientific research station orbiting Jupiter, had been just hours before. 17 personnel, whispered General Madison, her face ashen. "All lost." "Was it an accident?" Jack asked, though something in his gut told him otherwise. The general's jawline tightened. "No, we have the sensor readings." She nodded to a lieutenant who tapped a sequence of commands. The view screen shifted to show a recording. A massive vessel, shaped like an obsidian arrowhead, emerged from what appeared to be a tear in space itself. Without warning or communication, it fired a single beam of blinding white energy. Outpost Sigma didn't explode so much as dissolve. The station simply came apart at the molecular level, scattering into dust in seconds. "My God," Sarah whispered, her scientific detachment momentarily shattered. "What the hell kind of weapon can do that?" Jack demanded. General Madison turned to face them, her expression grim. "We don't know, but the Concordat might. I've called an emergency meeting with the Council. Ambassador Vril is waiting for us." Jack had never seen the imposing Concordat Council chambers so silent. 200 representatives from various species sat in tiered seating, all attention focused on the repeating footage of Outpost Sigma's destruction. When the recording ended, Jack expected outrage, promises of aid, declarations of solidarity. Instead, Ambassador Vril rose slowly, his gelatinous form shifting uncomfortably. "Commander Donovan," he began, his translator rendering his bubbling speech into flat English. "What you have encountered is regrettable." "Regrettable?" Jack's voice echoed through the chamber. 17 people were murdered. Indeed, and I fear many more will follow. Vrelil's form darkened slightly, a sign of distress, Jack had learned. What attacked your outpost is known to us. They are called the Harvesters. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The first attacks began 7 cycles ago, on the outer rim. At first we believed them to be isolated incidents. But their pattern has become methodical. They target one world, then move to the next, never communicating, never negotiating. How many worlds have they hit? Sarah asked. 23, replied a Thraxian representative, her chitinous exoskeleton clicking anxiously. Each one completely sterilized of life, no survivors. Jack stared incredulously. 23 worlds? And you've done nothing? The chamber erupted in indignant responses. We have tried everything, shouted a Nelvari diplomat, his feathered crest flaring. Our most powerful weapons barely scratched their hulls. 3 combined fleets engaged a single harvester vessel over Proxima Centauri the Certain, said a Duralan admiral. We lost 500 ships. They lost none. Ambassador Vrelil raised a pseudopod for silence. You must understand, Commander. The Concordat is primarily a diplomatic and trade organization. Our military capabilities are designed for peacekeeping, not extinction-level threats. So what's your plan? Jack demanded. Hide and hope they miss you? The uncomfortable silence that followed was answer enough. Evacuation protocols have been established for primary homeworlds, Vril finally said. We regret that Earth is in their current trajectory. Jack felt his blood run cold. Are you saying Earth is next? Within 1 standard month, yes, based on their previous patterns. The chamber fell silent once more. Jack looked around at the assembled representatives of the most advanced civilizations in the known galaxy and saw only resignation and fear. So that's it, he said quietly. You're just going to let them come and wipe us out? We will offer sanctuary to as many of your people as we can transport, Vrelil said, genuine sympathy in his translator's tone. Perhaps 10 million, if we begin immediately. Earth has 10 billion people. Jack slammed his fist down on the podium. And you want us to choose who lives and who dies? While you all sit back and watch. It is regrettable, Vrelil repeated, but we have found no way to stop them. Jack shared a look with Sarah and General Madison. In that moment something hardened in all 3 humans, a resolve that seemed to radiate from them in waves. Maybe you haven't found a way, Jack said quietly, because you've been too afraid to really try. 3 days later, Jack stood before the hastily assembled Human Defense Council on Earth. Representatives from every nation listened as he laid out the situation. The Concordat has offered sanctuary for 10 million people, he concluded. General Madison and I recommend we accept their offer for our critical scientific personnel and a genetically diverse population sample. And the rest of humanity? Asked the representative from Kenya, her voice steady despite the fear evident in her eyes. Jack straightened his shoulders. The rest of us are going to fight. A murmur rippled through the assembly. With what? Demanded the Chinese representative. You just told us these harvesters have technology centuries beyond even the Concordat races. Maybe so, Jack acknowledged, but they've never faced humans before. The room fell silent. The Concordat species evolved under different pressures than we did, Sarah explained, stepping forward. Most came from stable environments with predictable threats. They developed technology to overcome their evolutionary limitations. Whereas humans, Jack continued, evolved as persistence predators. We survived by outthinking, outworking, and outlasting everything that tried to kill us. We don't know how to give up. That's all very inspiring, said the Russian representative dryly, but it doesn't change the technological gap. No, agreed General Madison, joining them at the podium. But we have something they don't, a different perspective. The Concordat has been fighting this enemy conventionally and failing. We need to fight unconventionally. Jack nodded. Our analysis of the attack footage shows something interesting. The harvesters use a methodical approach. They arrive, they fire their primary weapon once, and they move on. There's no adaptation, no tactical flexibility. It's almost programmed. They've never needed to adapt, Sarah added. Until now. Jack looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each representative. I won't lie to you. Our chances are slim, but I'd rather die fighting than running. And who knows, maybe these harvesters have never encountered an enemy crazy enough to charge straight at them. The silence fell over the assembly as the weight of the decision before them settled in. Earth's first contact with alien life had come with the promise of a golden age, advanced medicine, clean energy, the stars themselves within reach. Now, barely 2 years after joining the galactic community, humanity faced extinction. The U.S. representative stood. "What exactly are you proposing, Commander Donovan?" Jack's eyes glinted with fierce determination. "Operation David." He nodded to General Madison, who activated a holographic display. The image showed Earth's orbital defense platforms, hastily constructed after first contact, but configured in a way no one had seen before. "We can't match their firepower," Jack said, "so we won't try. Instead, we'll use what we've always been good at: improvisation, misdirection, and sheer bloody-mindedness." As he outlined the plan, faces around the room shifted from despair to cautious hope. "This is insane," the Brazilian representative said when Jack finished. "But I don't see that we have better options." One by one, the representatives voiced their agreement. Some reluctantly, some with the same fire that burned in Jack's eyes. As the council dispersed to begin preparations, Ambassador Vril approached Jack, his gelatinous form quivering with what might have been concern. "The harvesters cannot be stopped, Commander," he said softly. 23 worlds have tried. All have failed." Jack smiled grimly. "Then I guess it's time for World 24 to show you how humans fight when our backs are against the wall." He turned to Sarah and Madison, his voice dropping to a determined whisper. "They thought humans were weak. They're about to learn how wrong they were. Remind me again why we're doing this," Sarah asked, her breath visible in the freezing air of the derelict mining station. Jack Donovan's fingers moved rapidly across the control panel, bypassing security protocols abandoned decades ago. "Because we need an edge, and Concordat tech isn't cutting it." 3 weeks had passed since Earth had chosen to fight rather than evacuate. 3 weeks of frantic preparation for a battle most of the galaxy considered unwinnable. "Got it," Jack said as the ancient door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. The two stepped into what had once been Ceres mining outpost 7 Alpha, shut down in the early days after first contact, when asteroid mining became obsolete compared to Concordat resource technology. Sarah shined her light around the cavernous main bay. "What exactly are we looking for?" "Railguns," Jack said, moving toward a massive tarp-covered shape in the corner. "The kind we were developing before the Concordat showed us their shiny toys and we abandoned our own lore and—" He pulled the tarp away, revealing a massive, crude-looking weapon. Primitive by Concordat standards, but with one critical difference. This beauty was designed to punch through asteroid cores with brute force, Jack said, patting the barrel affectionately. "No fancy particle beams or quantum disruptors. Just good old-fashioned kinetic energy." Sarah frowned. The harvesters shrugged off Thraxian phase cannons. "What makes you think this relic will do any better?" Jack grinned. "Because sometimes the old ways work best, and because no one's tried hitting them with something this analog." General Madison stared at the holographic display showing Earth's hastily assembled defense grid. Hundreds of retrofitted satellites and orbital platforms now surrounded the planet, many equipped with recovered railguns and missile systems that had been considered obsolete just months earlier. "Status report," she demanded. "Operation David is at 87% deployment," replied Colonel Tanner, her second in command. "The decoy fleet is in position near Mars. The Harvester is expected to emerge from FTL near Jupiter's orbit within 3 hours." Madison nodded grimly. "And our Concordat observer." Tanner's expression soured. "Ambassador Vrillin representatives from 7 species are safely tucked away in Bunker 3, as requested. They're monitoring everything." "Good, I want witnesses." Madison straightened her uniform. "Whether we win or die today, I want the galaxy to see how humans fight." Jack and Sarah rejoined the command crew aboard the EASS Defiant, Earth's prototype vessel incorporating both human and Concordat technology. Unlike the sleek, automated ships favored by most Concordat species, the Defiant was a hybrid monstrosity, all exposed struts and manual controls alongside gleaming alien tech. Ambassador Vril had been horrified when he first saw the blueprints. "You've integrated manual overrides for every system? But why would you deliberately make your ship less efficient?" Jack had smiled. "Because machines break, Ambassador, and when they do, I want a human hand ready to take the wheel." Now, as they prepared to face an enemy that had destroyed 23 worlds, That philosophy was about to be tested. "Harvester vessel detected," announced the sensor officer. Emerging from FTL near Jupiter, exactly as predicted. On the main view screen, the obsidian arrowhead shape of the harvester appeared, dark and menacing against the gas giant's swirling clouds. "All stations report," Jack ordered, settling into the command chair. "Weapons hot, shields at maximum, engineering standing by." Jack took a deep breath. "Initiate Operation David, Phase 1. The first part of humanity's plan was elegantly simple: misdirection. The decoy fleet near Mars suddenly lit up with energy signatures mimicking Earth's population centers and industrial complexes. To any distant sensors, it would appear that humanity had relocated its civilization to the Red Planet. The harvester took the bait. "It's changing course," reported the tactical officer, "moving toward Mars." "Phase 2, Jack ordered. Across the solar system, hundreds of abandoned satellites and space debris suddenly activated, their minimal power sources creating a web of electronic noise. The harvester paused, its sensors likely confused by the sudden proliferation of target. "It's working," Sarah whispered. "They've never encountered electronic countermeasures before." "No one's tried," Jack replied. "They've all been too busy running." The harvester resumed its course toward Mars, but more slowly now, more cautiously. "All ships, execute Phase 3, Jack commanded. The true trap was sprung. From hiding places within Jupiter's many moons, Earth's combat vessels emerged, 30 ships in all, pathetically few by Concordat standards, but each retrofitted with weapons systems the harvesters had never encountered. "Fire railguns," Jack ordered. Massive tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic speeds, streaked toward the harvester. Simultaneously, electromagnetic pulse weapons designed to disable Earth satellites activated, targeting the alien vessel. The harvester's shields flared, but unlike with energy weapons, the kinetic force of the railguns transferred through. The alien vessel shuddered. "Direct hit!" shouted the tactical officer. "We've damaged their outer hull." A cheer went up through the command deck, but Jack remained focused. "Don't celebrate yet. Return fire coming in 3, 2, 1. The harvester's response was devastating. A beam of white energy lanced out, completely vaporizing 2 Earth vessels. But the attack revealed something crucial. The beam emerged from a specific point on the harvester's hull. "There's our target," Jack said. "All ships, concentrate fire on coordinates I'm sending now. Use everything we've got." Earth's fleet responded, pouring railgun fire and missiles toward the harvester's weapon emitter. The alien vessel maneuvered with surprising agility, but several shots connected. A section of its obsidian hull cracked, revealing something underneath that pulsed with blue light. "What is that?" Sarah asked, leaning forward to study the sensor readings. "Some kind of biological component?" Before Jack could respond, the harvester fired again. 3 more Earth ships vanished in blinding light. "We're losing too many." Colonel Tanner's voice came through the comm. "General Madison is ordering a tactical retreat to regroup." Jack's jaw tightened. "Negative. We push forward. Tell Madison we've found a weakness. If we back off now, they'll adapt." On the view screen, the harvester began moving again, not toward the retreating Earth fleet, but directly toward Earth itself. "Damn it," Jack muttered. "It's ignoring us now. It knows the decoy was fake." "Jack," Sarah said quietly, "I've analyzed that biological component. It's similar to neural tissue. I think part of that ship is alive." Jack stared at her. "Alive? You mean it's an organism?" "Not exactly. More like a hybrid. Machine and biological components integrated." She looked up, eyes wide. "And I'm detecting a pattern in its energy emissions that matches brainwave activity. Complex but repetitive." Understanding dawned on Jack's face. "They're not adapting because they can't. They're following a program." He hit the comm button. "All ships. New strategy. Form up on the Defiant. We're going to hit them with something they've never seen before." Ambassador Vril watched the battle unfold from the safety of Earth's Bunker 3. Around him, representatives from various Concordat species observed in stunned silence as the human fleet executed a maneuver that no Concordat military strategist would have considered. Instead of maintaining a tactical distance, the remaining Earth vessels accelerated directly toward the harvester, closing to point-blank range inside the effective targeting arc of the alien's primary weapon. What are they doing? Gasped the Thraxian representative. It's suicide. Vrill's gelatinous form rippled with what might have been the first stirrings of hope he'd felt in years. No, he said softly. It's human. All hands, brace for impact. Jack shouted as the Defiant led the charge. The massive railgun mounted to the ship's spine, the same one they'd salvaged from Ceres, was aimed directly at the exposed biological component of the harvester. Fire! The railgun's discharge shook the entire ship. The tungsten projectile, traveling at a significant fraction of light speed, struck the harvester's vulnerable spot with devastating precision. The alien vessel shuddered, blue energy crackling across its surface. Again, Jack ordered. A second shot followed, then a third from supporting vessels. The harvester's movements became erratic. Its primary weapon fired, but the beam went wide, missing Earth's ships entirely. It's working, Sarah exclaimed, studying her readings. The neural network is disrupted. It's losing cohesion. The harvester made one final attempt to fire its weapon. Energy built up at the emitter, but instead of releasing outward, it collapsed inward. A chain reaction began, blue energy consuming the vessel from within. All ships, back off, Jack commanded. It's going critical. Earth's fleet retreated as the harvester began to break apart, not with the catastrophic explosion of a conventional ship, but with a strange implosion that seemed to fold the vessel in on itself. In moments, all that remained was floating debris and a pulsing core of blue energy. Is it dead? Someone asked. Sarah shook her head, staring at her instruments. Not dead, but its consciousness is severely damaged. It's in some kind of dormant state. Jack turned to her. Consciousness? You're saying these things are sentient? In a way, Sarah replied, her voice hushed with the gravity of discovery. But not like us. The neural patterns I'm detecting, old, incredibly old, and rigid, like they're locked in a loop they can't break out of. Jack's eyes narrowed. Get a tractor beam on that core. I want it secured for study. 12 hours later, Earth's scientific team had established a containment field around the recovered harvester core in a secure facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Sarah led the research effort, with Jack and General Madison observing. What we're looking at, Sarah explained, gesturing to the pulsing blue mass, is unlike anything in Concordat records. It's a biomechanical neural network of enormous complexity, but with a critical flaw. Which is, Madison prompted. It can't learn? Sarah said simply, at least not anymore. This neural structure shows signs of extreme age, billions of years possibly. It's degraded, simplified. Whatever these harvesters once were, they're now running on the equivalent of autonomic functions. Instinct, not intelligence. Jack frowned. You're saying they were once more than this? Sarah nodded. The technology is incredible, but it's maintenance mode. Like a gardener programmed to keep mowing the lawn long after the owner has died. But why attack worlds? Madison asked. What's the purpose? Sarah hesitated, then gestured to a section of the neural mass where patterns pulsed in regular intervals. We're still decoding it, but we've identified what appears to be its primary directive. It's not destruction for destruction's sake. It's harvesting. Literally, these entities are collecting specific elements and energy signatures found most abundantly in developed worlds. For what purpose? Jack asked. That's the revelation, Sarah said quietly. They're gathering resources to build more of themselves, but the directive is corrupted. They're reproducing without purpose, expanding without end. They've forgotten why they were created in the first place. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Are you saying, General Madison finally spoke, that these harvesters are the remnants of some ancient civilization's technology? Gone rogue? Not rogue, Sarah corrected. Abandoned. Left running without oversight for so long that their programming has decayed. They're following corrupted instructions from creators who vanished eons ago. Jack stared at the pulsing core. Can we communicate with it? Make it understand what it's doing? Sarah shook her head. I don't think so. Not in its current state. It would be like trying to reason with a virus. It's not malevolent, it's just executing code. Ambassador Vrill, who had been silently observing from the corner, finally spoke. For 7 cycles, the Concordat has fled from these beings, believing them to be invincible conquerors. But they are merely broken machines. Very advanced broken machines, Sarah corrected. But yes, and like any machine, they have weaknesses, physical vulnerabilities, programming limitations. Jack turned to face Riddle, his expression resolute. Ambassador, I think it's time for the Concordat to stop running and start fighting back. With humanity leading the charge, Riddle's gelatinous form shifted in what might have been the Missouri equivalent of a nod. I believe, Commander Donovan, that the balance of power in our galaxy has just shifted dramatically. And one more thing, Sarah added, her tone grave. According to the fragmented data we've recovered, there aren't just a few harvesters, there are thousands, possibly millions, all executing the same corrupted directive. Jack's expression hardened. Then we have our work cut out for us. He gazed at the captured core, this relic of a civilization so ancient it had been forgotten by the galaxy, a weapon without a warrior, a soldier without a cause. They thought we were weak, he said quietly. But sometimes, strength isn't about having the biggest gun. It's about being willing to look your enemy in the eye and find their weakness when everyone else is running away. Madison nodded. The question now is, what do we do with this knowledge? Jack stared at the pulsing remains of their enemy, both simpler and more complex than anyone had imagined. We do what humans have always done when faced with something we don't understand. Which is? Vril asked. Jack smiled grimly. We take it apart and figure out how to make it better. 3 months after humanity's first victory against a harvester, the Concordat had changed. What began as whispers of disbelief had transformed into something almost like hope. Humanity's triumph had shattered centuries of resignation. Now, representatives from dozens of species crowded Earth's orbital assembly hall, eager to learn how the galaxy's newest members had accomplished the impossible. Jack Donovan stood before them, uncomfortable with his newfound celebrity. Let's be clear, he said, silencing the murmurs. We didn't win the war, we won a battle. 1 harvester down, millions to go. Ambassador Vrilil's translator produced the Missouri equivalent of a sigh. Commander, you understate your achievement. For the first time in 7 cycles, the harvesters have been stopped. Several worlds have already implemented your railgun design, and the harvesters are adapting, Jack countered. Reports from the Tau Ceti system show they've modified their shields against kinetic weapons. Sarah Walker stepped forward, her expression grim. We've analyzed the data. The harvesters share information across vast distances almost instantaneously. Every victory we achieve teaches them how to counter our tactics. A gloomy silence fell over the assembly. However, Sarah continued, our research on the captured neural core has yielded something unexpected. She nodded to a technician who activated a holographic display. A complex network of blue energy patterns appeared, pulsing rhythmically. This is the command structure of the harvester consciousness, she explained. As I reported earlier, it's executing a corrupted directive from a long-dead civilization. But what we've discovered is that beneath the corruption, there's an underlying pattern, a signature, if you will. Jack frowned. What kind of signature? A genetic one, Sarah replied. The biological components of the harvester contain DNA analogous to a species thought extinct for millions of years. The hall erupted in confused murmurs. General Madison silenced them with a raised hand. 2 days ago, we sent this genetic signature to the Concordat Central Archives. The results were classified at the highest level. Ambassador Vril's gelatinous form darkened to a deep purple, a sign of extreme distress Jack had never seen before. The signature, Vril said slowly, belongs to the precursors. The word rippled through the assembly like an electric current. Even with Jack's limited knowledge of galactic history, he recognized the name. The precursors, the legendary first civilization, said to have seeded the galaxy with life before mysteriously vanishing eons ago. That's impossible, objected a Thraxian diplomat. The precursors are myths. Not myths, corrected an elderly Durellan, his wrinkled face solemn. History obscured by time. My people's oldest records speak of those who came before, who taught our ancestors the stars were not gods but places. Brill nodded. The Missouri archives contain fragmentary records dating back 15 million years. They speak of the caretakers, machines left behind by the precursors to tend the galaxy. Machines that, over eons, might have evolved or devolved. Jack's mind raced. You're saying the harvesters are precursor technology, some kind of maintenance system gone haywire? It would explain their antiquity, Sarah agreed. Their programming decay. But not why this information was classified, Madison pointed out, her tone accusatory. Ambassador? Rill's form rippled uncomfortably. There is more. The Council believed it best not to cause panic. Spit it out, Jack demanded. The harvesters were dormant for millions of years, Brill said quietly. Until approximately 7 cycles ago, when they suddenly activated. This coincided with a discovery in the Proxima Centauri system. What discovery? Jack asked, though something in his gut told him he already knew. A precursor installation. Briller replied. The first intact structure ever found. The Concordat Research Division began excavations. Soon after, the first harvester attacks began. Understanding dawned across the assembly hall like a cold sunrise. You woke them up, Jack said flatly. The Concordat disturbed something it shouldn't have, and now the entire galaxy is paying the price. Brill didn't deny it. The situation is more complex than initially believed. It gets worse, Sarah added, checking her datapad. According to our analysis of the neural cores navigation systems, the harvesters aren't just randomly destroying worlds. They're following a pattern, a route directly toward the galactic. What's at the core? Madison demanded. Brill's translator fell silent for several moments before producing a single word: everything. The Proxima Centauri installation was a massive structure, embedded within an asteroid belt, a gleaming citadel of technologies, so advanced they seemed like magic, even to the Concordat's most brilliant minds. A joint human Concordat expedition had been hastily assembled after the revelation of the harvester's true nature. Jack stared through the viewport as their ship approached. It's beautiful, he murmured. Sarah nodded, equally awestruck. According to the Concordat records, they'd barely scratched the surface of its systems when the harvesters activated. Which begs the question, General Madison said grimly. What exactly did they trigger? Their ship docked at a recently constructed research outpost anchored to the installation's exterior. Inside, they found the station nearly abandoned. Most of the research team had fled when the harvester attacks began. Only a skeleton crew remained, led by a Nelvari scientist named Trix, whose feathered crest remained permanently half-raised in a state of perpetual anxiety. Most of the installation remains inaccessible, Trix explained, leading them through sterile corridors. The precursors left formidable security measures. We've only managed to explore about 8% of the total structure, and that was enough to wake up the harvesters, Jack asked. Trix's crest flattened in embarrassment. We may have attempted to access the central control systems prematurely, showing typical concordant restraint, Madison muttered. They entered a vast chamber where a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy hovered, countless points of light swirling in perfect miniature. Hundreds of red markers blinked across the map, each representing a harvest. They're converging, Sarah observed, studying the pattern. All headed toward... What is that at the center? Trix manipulated the controls, zooming in on the galactic core. At its heart lay not the supermassive black hole astronomers expected, but an enormous structure, a perfect sphere composed of interlocking geometric shapes. The Nexus, Trix said reverently. According to the fragments we've deciphered, it's the central hub of a galaxy-wide network, the heart of precursor civilization, and the harvesters are heading straight for it. Jack said. Why? Trix's crest fluttered. We believe they're trying to reactivate it. Is that bad? Madison asked. Unknown, Trix admitted. The Nexus appears to be a form of computational megastructure. Its purpose could be anything from a vast library to a weapon of unimaginable power. Jack frowned, studying the map. How long until the first harvesters reach it? At current speeds, approximately 3 standard months. And then, what happens? Trix's translator produced a sound like nervous laughter. That is the question that has kept me awake for 7 cycles, Commander. Sarah had moved to a nearby console, studying the data with growing concern. According to these simulations, if the harvesters succeed in reactivating the Nexus, the energy discharge would be catastrophic. like a gamma ray burst from the center of the galaxy. How catastrophic? Madison demanded. Extinction level, Sarah replied quietly. For every living thing within 50,000 light-years. Silence fell over the chamber as the true stakes of the conflict became clear. Not just isolated worlds at risk, but the entire galactic community, trillions of lives balanced on a knife edge. So that's why they're destroying worlds, Jack said finally. They're harvesting energy, building up enough power to restart this nexus. It appears so, Thrix agreed. The corrupted directive must interpret reactivation as its primary purpose. Can't we just destroy the nexus? Madison suggested. Problem solved. Thrix's crest flattened in horror. Destroy precursor technology? The knowledge it might contain? That would be better than extinction, Jack interrupted. But I'm guessing we don't have weapons that could touch something that size anyway. Correct, Thrix confirmed. And the nexus is likely protected by defenses we cannot comprehend. Sarah had been silent, her expression thoughtful. You said the harvesters are executing a corrupted directive. What if we corrected it? All eyes turned to her. The neural core we captured, she continued, growing animated. It's damaged, but what if we could repair it? Use it to communicate with the other harvesters? Override their programming? Reprogram a million-year-old alien AI? Madison looked skeptical. Is that even possible? Not with Concordat technology alone, Thrix said, a note of reluctant admiration in his translator's tone. But your species has demonstrated unconventional approaches. Jack thought for a moment. We'd need to understand the original programming first. Is there anything in this installation that could help with that? Thrix hesitated. There is. One system. The Concordat Research Division deemed it too dangerous to access. Of course they did, Jack muttered. Show us. The dangerous system turned out to be a spherical chamber deep within the installation. At its center floated a pulsing orb of light, similar to the neural core they'd captured, but vastly more complex. An intact precursor AI, Thrix explained, keeping a respectful distance. We believe it was the installation's caretaker. Is it active? Sarah asked. Dormant, Thrix replied. We detected minimal energy signatures but no active processes. Our attempts to communicate received no response. Jack approached the orb cautiously. So what makes it dangerous? Unknown technology is inherently dangerous, Commander. Thrix's translator admonished. The potential for catastrophic miscommunication is exactly why your people are losing this war, Jack interrupted. Sometimes you have to take risks. He turned to Sarah. Could we use this to understand the harvester programming? She nodded slowly. If it's the same basic technology, yes, but activating an unknown AI could go horribly wrong, Jack acknowledged. But we're running out of options. Madison stepped forward. The Concordat has spent 7 cycles running. That hasn't worked. I say we try something new? Thrix's crest fluttered anxiously. I must register my formal protest. Noted, Madison cut him off. Now, how do we turn this thing on? The answer, surprisingly, came not through advanced technology, but through simple human intuition. While Concordat scientists had attempted complex activation sequences, Sarah discovered that the orb responded to direct physical contact. It's a neural interface, she explained, standing before the pulsing light. It wants to communicate, but not through machines. Through consciousness. You're not seriously suggesting, Madison began. Someone has to, Sarah replied, determination in her eyes, and I've studied the neural patterns more than anyone. Jack stepped forward. No way. We have no idea what that thing could do to a human mind. Do you have a better idea? Sarah challenged. We have weeks, not months. Every day we debate, more worlds die. Jack wanted to argue, but he recognized the look in her eyes. It was the same expression he'd worn when proposing Operation David. Sometimes courage meant taking the leap. No one else. Fine, he said finally. But I'm going in with you. Sarah smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. The interface was nothing like Jack had imagined. There was no transition, no sensation of connection. One moment he stood beside Sarah, reaching toward the orb. The next, they existed in a space that was neither physical nor imaginary, but something in between. We have waited. The thought wasn't voiced, but simply existed, as fundamental as gravity. Who are you? Sarah asked, her presence beside Jack a comforting familiarity in this alien realm. Architect guardian memory. The concepts overlapped, impossible to separate. You are not precursor. No, Jack agreed. We're human. From Earth. New life, unregistered. Interesting. We need your help, Sarah said. The harvesters, the caretakers, they've been corrupted. They're destroying worlds. Corruption confirmed. Maintenance protocols degraded. Emergency directive activate. Emergency directive? Jack asked. Is that why they're trying to reactivate the Nexus? A sense of affirmation rippled through the space. Nexus restart. Emergency protocol. Cleanse. Reset. Begin anew. Jack and Sarah shared a horrified understanding.
You're saying the harvesters are trying to reset the galaxy, wipe the slate clean?
Garden, overgrown, system corrupted. Reset required. But trillions of lives will be lost, Sarah protested. Regrettable. Necessary. Precursor protocol, absolute. Jack felt anger rise within him. Even here, in this impossible space, the same cold calculus that had frustrated him about the Concordat. Rules and protocols valuing procedure over life. No, he said firmly. There has to be another way. The precursors created life. They wouldn't design a system to casually destroy it. Purpose of system, preservation of precursor knowledge legacy. All else secondary. Sarah's presence shifted beside him, her thoughts connecting with his. What if there was a way to preserve that knowledge without destruction? A new protocol. Override impossible. Authorization required. What kind of authorization? Jack demanded. Precursor. Genetic key. Unavailable. Precursors extinct. A wild idea formed in Jack's mind. Maybe not entirely extinct. He focused his thoughts, sharing what they'd discovered about the harvester neural core, the embedded precursor DNA. Genetic, material fragmented, insufficient. But it exists, Jack pressed. And if the harvesters all carry this fragment together, they might have enough. Theoretical possibility. Probability low. Low is better than zero, Sarah said. Can you help us communicate with the harvesters? Reprogram them to stop the Nexus activation? Direct intervention beyond parameters. However, the presence seemed to consider template available, original caretaker protocols. Uncorrupt. Hope surged through Jack. You can give us the original programming? The code the harvesters were supposed to follow? Affirmative. Warning, implementation complex. Requires direct neural contact with harvester network. Another interface, Sarah realized. Like this one, but with the captured harvester core. Correct. Danger significant. Harvester network, hostile. Consciousness could be absorbed, destroyed. Jack and Sarah shared a moment of silent communication, understanding passing between them. The risk was enormous, but the alternative was unthinkable. We'll do it, Jack said. Curious, the architect's presence shifted, studying them. Your species young, unproven, yet willing to sacrifice. That's what humans do, Sarah replied simply. We protect our own, and right now that includes every living being in this galaxy. What followed was a desperate race against time. Armed with the architect's template, Earth scientists worked alongside Concordat specialists to build an interface compatible with the captured harvester core. Meanwhile, reports flooded in of increased harvester activity throughout the galaxy. Their convergence toward the Nexus was accelerating. The final design was ugly but functional, a hybrid of precursor principles and human improvisation. The neural interface chamber on Earth had been expanded, the pulsing blue core suspended in the center. The Concordat fleet is in position around the Nexus, General Madison reported. They'll attempt to slow the harvesters, but without the reprogramming. They're buying us time, Jack said, understanding the sacrifice. Let's not waste it. He turned to Sarah, who was being fitted with sensor equipment by a team of scientists. Last chance to back out, she smiled. Not a chance. Besides, someone has to make sure you don't get yourself killed. The interface will connect both of you simultaneously to the harvester neural network, explained the lead technician. Your goal is to upload the architect's template to the core, which should then propagate throughout their entire system. Should, Jack noted dryly. Current probability of success is approximately 12%, Ambassador Vril added, his gelatinous form hovering anxiously nearby. Never tell me the odds, Jack muttered. He took a deep breath and nodded to the technicians. Let's do this. The interface activated. Jack felt a sensation like falling into an endless abyss. Then suddenly they weren't alone. The harvester consciousness was nothing like the architect's orderly presence. This was chaos, a storm of corrupted directives and fractured memories swirling around them like a digital hurricane. Millions of voices, screaming in a language made of pure mathematics. Intruders detected. Purge protocol initiated. Jack felt pressure building around his consciousness, threatening to crush it. Beside him, Sarah's presence flickered. "The template," she gasped. "We need to—" Irrelevant. Nexus. Activation primary directive. All resources allocated. Jack struggled against the overwhelming force. This wasn't working. The consciousness was too far gone, too corrupted to recognize the template. They needed something else. Some human. "Listen to me," he projected, not with code, but with raw emotion. Determination, anger, hope. You were created to preserve life, not destroy it. You've forgotten your purpose. Purpose, absolute. Nexus, activation, reset protocol. No. Jack pushed back with everything he had, forcing images into the stream of data. Earth's oceans teeming with life. Missouri children learning to manipulate their gelatinous forms. Thraxians building their crystalline cities. This is what you were meant to protect. Something shifted in the chaos. A hesitation. Sarah felt it too. She joined her consciousness with Jack's, adding her own memories, her own understanding of life's precious complexity. Contradiction detected. Reset protocol eliminates subject of preservation directive. Yes, Jack pressed. You're working against your own purpose. The precursors wouldn't want this. Precursors? Absent. Guidance lost. But their legacy continues, Sarah added. In all the life they helped seed, in the species that have evolved since they left, in us. The storm around them began to calm, chaotic patterns gradually resolving into more ordered sequences. Harvester network fractured, consensus impossible. Jack seized the opportunity. You don't need consensus. You need to remember who you are. With Sarah's help, he began to upload the architect's template, not as a forced override, but as an offering. A reminder of original purpose. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like dominoes falling in slow motion, the harvester consciousness began to change. Corrupted code rewrote itself. Ancient memories surfaced, and buried directives awakened. Recalibration initiated. Error detected. Correction propagated. Through their neural link, Jack and Sarah could feel the change rippling outward, racing through the vast network of harvesters across the galaxy. One by one, the entities stopped their advance toward the Nexus. Pre-Arene directive restored. Preserve, protect, nurture. The storm dissolved around them, replaced by a calm, ordered presence. Not hostile, but watchful, curious. Human intervention unexpected, effective, gratitude. Jack felt a surge of relief so powerful it threatened to overwhelm him. Does this mean you'll stop attacking worlds? Affirmative. Harvest protocol terminated. Repair protocol initiated. Repair? Sarah asked. Damage extensive. Responsibility acknowledged. Reconstruction will commence. The presence began to withdraw, its attention turning outward to its vast network. Human consciousness incompatible with prolonged connection. Disengagement recommended. Jack felt the interface starting to dissolve around them. Wait, what about the Nexus? What was it really designed for? The answer came as they were pulled back toward their physical bodies. Nexus, yeah, archive, seed, gateway. When galaxy ready? Not yet. 1 year later, the observation deck of the newly constructed Concordat human embassy offered a spectacular view of Earth. Jack stood at the viewport, watching the swirl of clouds across the blue planet below. Admiring the view? Sarah asked, joining him. Admiring what we saved, he replied with a smile. Behind them, diplomats from 24 species mingled, celebrating the formal ratification of the new Concordat Charter, one that gave humanity an equal voice despite their younger status. Ambassador Vrelel approached, his gelatinous form now sporting the red-gold hue that indicated pleasure. Commander Donovan, Dr. Walker, the Council has approved your proposal for the Joint Research Initiative. Good, Sarah said. The harvesters, or caretakers as they now call themselves, have accumulated knowledge from millions of years of observations. Working with them could advance our understanding of the universe by centuries and help us prepare, Jack added more quietly. Raphael's form rippled questioningly. Prepare? For what? Jack glanced out at the stars. The caretakers had been cryptic about the Nexus's true purpose, but their final message had stayed with him. A gateway, when the galaxy was ready. Whatever comes next, he said simply. The precursors may be gone, but I doubt they're the only advanced civilization out there. The galaxy's a big place, and now, thanks to you, we'll have time to explore it, Brill observed. The caretakers report that the last of the damaged worlds have been restored. Their regenerative technology is remarkable. A chime sounded, indicating the formal ceremony was about to begin. Vril excused himself to take his position on the podium. Sarah lingered beside Jack. Do you ever wonder if we did the right thing? The caretakers have essentially become the galaxy's guardians again. That's a lot of power. Better than extinction, Jack pointed out. Besides, they're different now. The hybrid programming seems to have given them something they lacked before. What's that? Jack smiled. Perspective. They've learned from their mistakes, just like we all do. General Madison approached, resplendent in her ceremonial uniform. They're ready for you, Commander. You're giving the opening address. Jack straightened his own uniform nervously. When I took this assignment, I thought I'd be exploring strange new worlds, not rewriting galactic history. Madison smiled. That's the thing about humans. We never know our true strength until we're tested. She glanced at the assembled diplomats. They thought we were weak. They were wrong. Maybe strength isn't what they thought it was, Sarah suggested. It's not about superior technology or military might. It's about having the courage to try when everyone else has given up. Jack nodded, taking one last look at Earth before turning toward the waiting assembly. A room full of beings who had once dismissed humanity as primitive, now looking to them for leadership. They thought humans were weak, he said quietly. Now they know better. As he walked toward the podium, Jack couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humanity had joined the galactic community, expecting to be the students. Instead, they had become the teachers, and somewhere out among the stars, whatever had created the precursors was still waiting. But that was a challenge for another day.